everybody, welcome back to Taji's World of Books, and this is my follow-up to my wrap-up for the Grishaverse. Hey everybody, welcome back and thank you for joining in. So I wanted to wrap up and do a part 2 for the Grishaverse because I finally finished The Rule of Wolves, and I just wanted to kind of pop on and give you my thoughts. And so that was part 1, and we'll do this part 2 and then we'll be done, and now I'll go on to my other reading that I'm doing for this week. Okay, so just to recap, because I sort of feel like, for me personally, these are like, I guess Leigh Bardugo separates them. So you've got the Shadow and Bone trilogy, then you've got the Six of Crows duology, which you all know, I already mentioned that the Shadow and Bone trilogy I absolutely loved. It was my favorite. She did a great job. I thought it was done so well. The Six of Crow duology, I liked it, but I wasn't crazy about it because it didn't flesh out the relationship between the characters in as much as I would have liked. I did like Jasper and Wyland's relationship. I thought that was great. I thought they did a really good job with that. I liked Nina's relationship with Matthias. However, I felt very unsatisfied with Kaz and Elin, I think is her name. I felt very unsatisfied, felt like it didn't end well. I thought that the story focused much more on the heist and the journey that they went on than it did the relationship, and it did, and that's what I guess it was supposed to do. But for me, as a romance reader, I was like okay with it. Okay, so then I also talked about the anthologies and the Language of Thorns. Loved those short stories that you would have heard as part of the Grishaverse as a child. And then you've got the King of Scar duology, which is, you know, the King of Scar and the Rule of Wolves. And so in this story, he sort of went off track with the Six of Crows, and we're introduced to a whole new host of characters. Here we come back, and the story is told from the point of view of Zoya, Nikolai, and Nina. And you get to see what happens to Nina. Like, as I said, at the end of the Six of Crow duology, something significant happens. So Nina is dealing with that. I guess I like the story in that I got to see what was going on with Nikolai. I got to see more of Ravka. Ravka is in trouble again. Nikolai is doing his best to try to save everybody and to save his people. However, I felt like the story was very slow in certain sections where I lost interest. You can see that things are moving in a direction where there's going to be a love interest between Zoya and Nikolai, which I'm not really on board for, don't really care about. This really read like a middle story. Like, I felt like, and I feel bad to say this because I realize that this is Leigh Bardugo's work. She put a lot of her time and energy into it. I'm not a writer. I'm just giving my opinion, which is like worth nothing. But I felt like it was too long. There was too much going on. Certain things were fleshed out, not enough. Other things they spent too much time in. Certain things I didn't care as much about. I'm like, why are we spending so much time talking about it? Other areas I felt like it really slowed down, you know, and the story just wasn't enjoyable. You know, again, there's all these things that like Nikolai has to sacrifice, and you know, I found that the most interesting parts were Nina's story and Nina's story with the Fjordans and what's going on over there as she sort of ingratiates herself as a spy from Nikolai, the Ravka king, to the Fjordan. So this book didn't deliver for me in quite the way. It read like it was a continuation, and it was a buildup of helping us to get to where we needed to be, which is this story. Okay, so having said that, so I finished the Rule of Wolves, and let me say this. I was really excited about this story. As you can see, that they brought back Alina. They brought back Mal for a bit. We got to see what was happening with them. I felt like it was a culmination, and the story could end with this book, but it's not going to. There is going to be a continuation. You can see that things were sort of left undone, and we hadn't gotten there yet. I thought that the book I felt like this delivered much more than the King of Scars. I don't want to, this is not going to be a spoiler, but you've got the Demon King, which is now Nikolai, and then you've got Zoya, who's being called the Storm Witch, and then you've got the Queen of Mourning, which is Nina Bennick, and her story. And so, you know, all the stories are being told from each of those perspectives. And then you also have this interesting character that's brought in, and his name is Yuri, and Yuri is the monk's perspective. And so again, the story flowed, and it's a continuation of what's been happening. Ravka is in trouble again. You've got Novazien, you've got the Shu, you've got the Fjordans, you've got the Kirch. Like, everybody is all sort of coming together and writhing because Radka is basically hemorrhaging and needs to support itself, and it basically cannot. So when there's blood in the water, all the sharks come out. And so you've got the Fjordans that are trying to take over Radka. Nikolai's place on the throne is being challenged because he's the bastard king, and so it's whether or not he really truly is the rightful heir. So that's all sort of coming to the foreground. And then, you know, you've got Genya and David and his story. And so I don't want to give any spoilers away, but there are certain things that I was shocked that Leigh Bardugo did. There are certain things that at the end I was sort of like, why did you do that? I don't really see the utility in doing that. I liked it. I really did like it, but it fell flat in certain areas for me. And I think that rather than telling the story, and I'll have to see when the next book comes out, rather than just telling the story like she did in The Shadow and Bone, she just told the story. I felt like this is being made unnecessarily long and dragged out, and I don't understand for what reason. And so that's what I'm sort of struggling with. Because I don't see the purpose in it. It doesn't need to be. The story could have been told and this could have been the end of it. But maybe once I read the rest of it and see what she decides to do with it, then it might tell me more. And then it's like, do I really believe, like, Zoya is like this military mind. She's a general. She's cold. She's calculating. And like Nikolai is like this jokester, like easygoing kind of, you know, he's like the little fox, right? He's like the clever fox, right? So he's always like able to get around scenarios. And so you're supposed to believe that the two of them are going to get together and it's going to work out in a way that, like, it didn't work out with Alina. And I just didn't buy that, and I don't like Zoya in that way for Nikolai. I am going to say, as an unpopular opinion, the Darkling, I really like the Darkling. And I know that I'm not supposed to, right? Like, he's supposed to be this character that's done evil things, and he's done horrible things, and he's harmed people, and he's hurt people. But I sort of step back and I listen to what the Darkling says, right? Like, he says, everything that I've done for Radka, and I've done for my people, and I've done these things because they needed to be done. Let me see what you do when you're the ruler. And isn't that the case, that when you're a ruler, like, you have to make really unpopular decisions sometimes because it's what's good for the greater good? Now, whether or not, and like, that's what he says about Genya. Like, he says he did what he did to Genya back in the Shadow and Bone series because he sacrificed her for the greater good of the people. I don't know, you know, I can see the terrible things that he's done, but I've also seen Zoya lie, and I've seen Nikolai lie, and I've seen them make some really hard decisions. And Alina Starkov, she made some really, really horrible decisions, and she became power hungry in as much as the Darkling did, because that kind of power unchecked, if you are not really aware of yourself, is going to corrupt the soul. So I don't agree with the things that the Darkling has done, but I understand them. Do I think that they're evil? Yes. Do I think he needs to be tortured and murdered? No, I don't. And there's a part of me that really does, in his own sick, twisted way, believe that the Darkling loved Alina. He really did. More so, I think, than Nikolai. I think Nikolai needed her and he said himself, I felt that in time I would have come to love her. I think the Darkling did love her in his own twisted sort of way, and felt, and I believe him when he said that we could have ruled together. I think that that's what he intended and what he wanted. So that's my kind of spiel on the Darkling. So, you know, like I said, it's a high fantasy. You got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of characters, a lot of people you got to keep track of. Like I said, I had to keep going back to the map. Certain parts were like, boom, boom, boom. They moved and were exciting and very good. There were other parts that I was like, whoo. And then I was like, oh, I checked out. I had to go back and make sure I know what's going on. And so this book, since the Shadow and Bones, since the Shadow and Bones series, of all the books that I've read, which is this duology, the 2 sets of duologies, the Six of Crows and this one was the most exciting and delivered more to me. But again, I think it's unnecessarily long, and that's not a negative criticism. It's just my opinion. That's stylistic. So I don't want to discredit an author that has put so much time and energy into this. But having said that, I would have liked to see it be a little bit shorter, and I would have liked to see things wrapped up. And so I'm kind of happy to be out of this world. Am I going to read the follow-up book to this? It'll be like in a year from now, probably. And the thing that I have a problem with is that, like, authors, especially mainstream published authors, like, if it's a year or 2 years before this next book comes out, man, I'm not going to go back and reread all this stuff so I know what the hell is going on, so that when I read it, I can have the best experience. So it's like, for me, it's like, it might not even be worth my time, but we'll see what I ultimately decide. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And you know, I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And so I miss my Monday video. So think of this as a supplemental video, as a way to say, I'm so sorry I missed my Monday video. So my next one is going to be something interesting. I'm going to try something a little bit different because I want to bring you guys new content. So I hope that you like it, and I will see you in my next video. Oh, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. That's really, really important. That helps to support my channel. It means so much to me. Thank you guys. Mwah.